Hello, it's Keith from Kinvert, and we're going to be going over an application of an exponential function here. We're going to be looking, this is kind of like compound interest, but this can also apply to things like if you are renting out a building, like let's say I have a duplex, and one side is being rented for $750 and so is the other side, so you've got a total of $1,500 per month coming in rent, right? Let's just say that. And in the lease agreement, you've got a 2% increase each year for the rent itself, right? And so you can imagine that the rent itself is going to kind of grow exponentially, and hopefully your expenses and whatnot, property taxes, things like that, they increase slower, hopefully, for you. But anyway, that's not what we're looking at. So we've got this function here now. There's so many variables here that you don't necessarily just make it straight up a function, but the way we're doing this would kind of be a function of time. But A is the annual amount, so what is your actual rent going to be? I just wrote this how you tend to see it in books. And then P is the principal. In this case, it's really just your initial rent. You know what I mean? The R is the rate. In this case, we're doing a 2% increase per year, and that's somewhat rule of thumb in real estate. At least I'm not in California, right? Things are crazy over there. A lot of homeless people, a lot of crazy high rents over there. But yeah, just general, I think that common is 2%. Periods per year, we're just raising the interest once a year. So this is going to be easier for us than some others where maybe it would compound monthly. And T is just the years. So please start to actually construct this equation here with the values put in, and I'm going to start giving you the answer in a second, so pause the video with the K key, and here comes the answer in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so we're trying to calculate this, so we've got P, the principal, we've got 1,500, so 1,500 times 1 plus the rate is 0.02, it's 2%. Keep that in mind, it's not a 2, it's 0.02. Divided by 1 to 1t. All right, and then we can redo this down to a simpler version of 1,500 times 1.02 to the t. This just simplifies down because 0.02 divided by 1, that's just 0.02. Adding that, so we got 1.02, and 1t is just t. So hopefully you can agree this is the equation we're going to be going with. And yeah, you just plug the stuff in. So let me delete the old equations I've got in here. 1,500 times 1.02 to the t, with t being 1. And guess what that's just going to be, right? So try to calculate this out. Again, you can pause with the K key, and here comes your answer. Well, let me write it out for you. Let me write it out. So we've got 1,500 times the 1.02, right? That's your basic rate. And then up here is where you've got your 1 year. And what this comes out to is $1,530. Not a huge gain, right? Whoop-de-doo, that'll cover half of your mowing bill for 1 month or something like that. You know, it's not going to be much if you're paying for their mowing anyway. I don't think that's very common, but maybe the plowing. Anyway, so you've got that going on. Now let's do it for 2 years. We've got the principal 1,500. We're not doing the 1,530, although we could maybe sanity check it. I'm curious to do that, so I'm going to do an extra sanity check. But this squared, right? We're doing the 2 years. You just put the 2 in for the t. There's the t, right? So let's go ahead and find what that's going to be, and my guess is like 1,555. I don't know. T is 2, 1560, 60. So this comes out to 1561. Well, I'll do it kind of accurate. 1560.6. All right. And one thing that I'd like to do is do the 1530. Am I dumb? Yes, I'm dumb. That was supposed to be a 1,500. Sorry, guys. These things happen. I did not sleep good last night. My son woke up. I had to hold him for like a half hour at 4 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. So we'll do it this. So we can see this is the way you would normally do it. The principal was that, and then in 2 years, you're going to get the 1560.6. And what I want to see is what happens if I do what is practically the same thing, because in 1 year, this comes out to 1530. I hope I'm not confusing you here. 1530. I want to see if this comes out to match this one above, right? So let's do 1530 times 1.02 to the 1, basically. Booyah, it did work. That's good. As it should. So this came out to 1560.6. Okay? So like you could even go and say, hey, my current, like next year, right? Let's say it's 2020. I don't know what year it is when you're watching this. Who knows? But anyway, let's say it's 2019 and your current rate is $1,500. Well, next year your rent's going to be $1,530. But now let's say that you're a year in the future, right? And it's 2020 or whatever, and your rent is currently $1,530, and you want to say, what's my rent going to be next year? It works out either way, kind of regardless of where you start from, as long as you keep in mind that you're using the relevant time. So now, remember that you start off at the original rent. In 5 years, what is that rent going to be? I want you to try to calculate it on your own. Please pause the video, really do this, hit the K key. Your answer is coming in 3, 2, 1. I'll go ahead and do it since I may have confused you earlier, and I'll do it in another color. Let's do green. Okay, so remember the rent started off at 1,500 buckaroos, and we have 1.02 in here. This is basically just the growth rate. And then this is to the T, so this is 5 years. All right. So what are we going to get? Buckle up, buckaroos. Here comes your answer. I hope that you figured this out on your own. Ooh, look at that. A tidy little sum of 1656.12. Not bad for 5 years waiting. You get an extra $100 a month. Congratulations. That'll get what, $1,200 a year? You can buy a few college textbooks for that much money, guys. Except in college, you won't be able to afford a duplex, right? Unless you got rich parents. So anyway, that's what you're looking at. This is exponential growth. This is like compounding interest, except that textbooks always have that. So I just wanted to do something like rent. You know what I mean? Because that's a little more interesting. And I'm tutoring someone who, actually, they told me last night they're going into real estate in college. So I want to do an example that's kind of going to work for them. So yeah, you start off with your principal. The principal is just your starting off amount. And in that case, it's the $1,500, right? So that's the P here. In this equation, that's the 1,500. 1 is 1. Hope you can figure that out. And then R over N. So R is the rate. In this case, it's 2%. Remember, you're not going to put a 2 there, right? It's not doubling. It's growing by 0.02. That's 2%. So keep that in mind, right? And we're only raising the rent each year. That's a kind of common way to do things in real estate for renting out properties and whatnot. So the N is 1. So things get a little simpler here than they would be if it's a monthly thing. And then N, again, it's the same. It's just periods per year. It's once. And then you're left with T, which is time in years. So each year that we click through here, and then we go to 5, but what's the rent going to be? And, I should have written down that it equals this. I'll just draw an arrow because I don't feel like trying to fit it in there. So anyway, I hope this made sense. Hope it's helpful to you. This is part of our online course for Pre Calculus and Algebra. In the link below, you'll be able to find a little more information about that. But we've got a whole class based on this, not just one video, if you want to learn more. And yeah, I hope you found this helpful. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.